The year was 1888. London, a city of grandeur and grit, was shrouded in an eerie fog that seemed to seep into the very bones of its inhabitants. A chill settled upon London, colder than any winter wind. The fog was thick, almost tangible, wrapping the city in a blanket of dread. It wasn't the weather that made people afraid. It was the unknown. The fear of what lurked in the shadows, the terror of the unseen. A killer stalked the fog-choked streets of Whitechapel. His presence was felt more than seen, a phantom in the mist. His name, whispered in hushed tones, was Jack the Ripper, a name that sent shivers down the spine of every Londoner. This wasn't just a murderer, he was a specter, an enigma that eluded capture, a ghost that haunted the streets. He materialized from the darkness, claimed his victims, and vanished without a trace. His methods were brutal, his motives unknown. The newspapers, hungry for every gruesome detail, fueled the public's fear. Headlines screamed of the latest atrocity, each more horrifying than the last. Women, particularly those living in poverty, were terrified to walk alone. The streets that were once their home now felt like a labyrinth of danger. The police seemed powerless to stop him. Despite their best efforts, Jack the Ripper remained elusive, a shadow slipping through their fingers. Jack the Ripper became a symbol of chaos, a stark reminder that even in the heart of a great city, nowhere was truly safe. His reign of terror was a dark chapter in London's history. The fear he instilled ran deep, leaving an indelible mark on London's history. The city, forever changed, would never forget the shadow that once loomed over its streets. The legend of Jack the Ripper endures, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk within the human soul. To understand the monster, we must first understand his hunting ground. Whitechapel, in London's East End, was a place of stark contrasts. Opulence and poverty existed side by side, a breeding ground for desperation and despair. The streets were crowded, a labyrinth of dimly lit alleys and overcrowded tenements. Poverty was a suffocating presence. Many residents struggled to survive, their lives marred by unemployment, disease, and vice. Alcoholism and prostitution were rampant, offering fleeting escapes from the harsh realities of life in Whitechapel. It was a place where anonymity thrived. People came and went unnoticed, lost in the throngs that filled the streets. This environment of anonymity provided the perfect cover for a predator like Jack the Ripper. He was a phantom, blending seamlessly into the shadows of the East End. Jack the Ripper's victims were women, each with a story tragically cut short. They were mothers, daughters, sisters. But in the eyes of their killer, they were prey. Most were involved in sex work, driven to it by poverty and lack of opportunity. Their names are etched in history's grim ledger. Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, Mary Jane Kelly. These were not just names on a police report, they were human beings, each with hopes, dreams, and fears. Their lives, though lived in the shadows of society, mattered. Their deaths sent shockwaves through Whitechapel and beyond. The brutality of their murders, the viciousness inflicted upon them, exposed a dark underbelly of Victorian society. The darkness that consumed Whitechapel wasn't just metaphorical. It was in the literal shadows that Jack the Ripper chose to commit his gruesome acts. His crimes were as calculated as they were brutal, each one bearing the hallmarks of a chilling precision. He often chose weekends, late at night or in the early hours of the morning when the fog was thickest and the streets were deserted. His victims were found in alleyways, their bodies mutilated, their throats slashed with a surgeon's precision. The Ripper didn't just kill, he mutilated. His acts went beyond the pale of human comprehension. The removal of organs, the specific mutilations inflicted, pointed towards a level of anatomical knowledge that was both disturbing and baffling to investigators. Section 5. The Riddle of Accomplices. Did he act alone? The question of whether Jack the Ripper acted alone or had help has haunted investigators for over a century. The dark, foggy streets of 19th century London were a labyrinth of secrets and shadows, perfect for someone to hide in plain sight. Some theories suggest he may have had an accomplice, someone who knew the city's underbelly as well as he did. This person could have been a lookout, a confidant, or even someone who shared in his gruesome activities. The nature of his crimes, particularly the speed and precision with which he operated, has led some to believe he may have had medical knowledge or experience. The clean, almost surgical cuts on his victims suggest a familiarity with anatomy that was uncommon for the average person. Could he have been a doctor, a butcher, or someone with access to surgical instruments and anatomical knowledge? The tools of his trade might have been hidden in plain sight, in a profession that required such instruments. The possibility of accomplices adds another layer of complexity to the mystery. If he had help, it would mean a network of individuals who were either complicit in his crimes or turned a blind eye to his actions. Did someone help him stalk his victims, dispose of evidence, or provide a place to hide? The dark alleys and hidden corners of London could have been the perfect cover for such activities. Or was he a lone wolf, a solitary figure driven by his own twisted desires? The image of a lone figure, moving silently through the night, adds to the chilling enigma of Jack the Ripper. His ability to evade capture despite the massive manhunt suggests a cunning mind, whether he acted alone or with help. The debate continues to this day, with historians and amateur sleuths alike poring over old documents and new theories. Each piece of evidence, each new theory, adds to the rich tapestry of this enduring mystery. Modern technology has allowed us to re-examine the evidence in ways that were not possible before. Digital reconstructions and advanced forensic techniques offer new insights, but the question remains, did he act alone? As we delve deeper into the mystery, we are reminded that some questions may never be answered. The legend of Jack the Ripper endures, a dark chapter in history that continues to captivate and horrify. Whether he acted alone or had accomplices, the story of Jack the Ripper remains one of the most intriguing and terrifying tales of all time. Section 6. The Hunt for a Ghost, Scotland Yard's Struggle. The police investigation into the Jack the Ripper murders was one of the most extensive and frustrating in history. Scotland Yard, faced with a phantom, struggled to find answers in the labyrinthine streets of Whitechapel. Despite their efforts, the Ripper always seemed to be one step ahead. Witnesses were scarce and often unreliable. The fog and darkness provided the perfect cover for his crimes, obscuring any potential clues. The lack of forensic technology at the time hampered their efforts. Fingerprinting was in its infancy, and DNA analysis was unheard of. The police were left to rely on eyewitness accounts, physical evidence, and their own deductions, all of which proved insufficient to unmask the killer. Section 7. Echoes in the East End, Whitechapel, then and now. Today, Whitechapel bears little resemblance to the dangerous, poverty-stricken district it once was. The slums have been replaced with modern buildings, the dimly lit alleys now illuminated by streetlights. Yet, the echoes of the Ripper's reign of terror still linger. The streets he walked, the places where his victims were found, continue to draw visitors from around the world, captivated by the enduring mystery. Walking those streets today, one can't help but feel a sense of unease, imagining the fear that gripped the city over a century ago. The ghost of Jack the Ripper still haunts Whitechapel, a reminder of a time when darkness descended upon the East End. Section 8. The Legend Endures, Jack's Grip on History. Jack the Ripper may have vanished into the fog over a century ago, but his grip on our collective imagination remains as strong as ever. The name Jack the Ripper evokes a sense of dread and curiosity, a blend of fear and fascination that has transcended time. The unsolved mystery of his identity continues to fascinate, frustrate, and inspire countless books, documentaries, and theories. Scholars and amateur sleuths alike have pored over the details, each hoping to be the one to finally unmask the infamous killer. He has become a macabre legend, a figure shrouded in mystery and darkness. His story is not just a tale of murder, but a reflection of the fears and anxieties of the Victorian era, a symbol of the dark side of human nature. The brutal nature of his crimes and the fact that he was never caught have turned him into a symbol of the unknown and the unknowable. His story serves as a chilling reminder that even in the brightest of cities, shadows lurk. The gas-lit streets of Victorian London, with their stark contrasts of light and dark, serve as the perfect backdrop for his tale. The enduring fascination with Jack the Ripper speaks to our innate desire to understand the darkness that resides within us all. Museums and exhibits dedicated to his story draw crowds, each person hoping to catch a glimpse of the man behind the myth. He is a puzzle that may never be fully solved, a mystery that continues to elude even the most dedicated investigators. Each new theory adds another piece to the puzzle, but the complete picture remains just out of reach. a ghost story that continues to haunt the annals of history. His presence is felt in the dark corners of London, in the whispers of the past that refuse to be silenced. And as long as his identity remains a mystery, the legend of Jack the Ripper will continue to endure. He is a figure that embodies the unknown, a reminder that some questions may never be answered. The fog of history may obscure the details, but the legend of Jack the Ripper remains clear. His story is a testament to the enduring power of mystery and the human fascination with the unknown.